Most people believe that if they make reasonable choices for long enough, their financial life should move in a clear direction. That belief is what makes patience possible. Over the last decade, that expectation stopped matching reality. Plenty of people did what they were supposed to do and still felt stuck. Not briefly, consistently. At the same time, progress appeared in places where effort hadn't obviously increased. This wasn't a motivational failure. It was a structural one. The system people were responding to no longer rewarded behavior the way it used to. This video explains what changed and why trusting the old logic quietly became a liability. For a long time, progress followed rules people understood. Work accumulated. Experience mattered. Delay felt tolerable because direction remained visible. That visibility mattered more than comfort. As long as the path made sense, frustration was manageable. What changed wasn't the presence of effort. It was the disappearance of reliable feedback. At first, this wasn't obvious. Daily life retained its shape. Jobs existed. Plans were made. Careers advanced in small, familiar steps. Nothing signaled that the connection between action and outcome was loosening. Only later did people begin noticing that familiar behaviors were producing unfamiliar results. Work is the clearest place to see this shift. For decades, careers offered a rough trade, time and effort in exchange for stability over time. That trade weakened. Income continued to rise in nominal terms, but the cost of maintaining the same standard of living rose faster. Advancement arrived without leverage. Progress without relief. The work still demanded energy. It simply returned less signal. Saving changed at the same time. It used to function as a way to preserve options. Restraint today bought flexibility tomorrow. As conditions shifted, waiting stopped protecting opportunity. Cash no longer held its place reliably. Time began working against delay. This wasn't poor planning. It was a change in how the environment priced patience. While labor and savings lost momentum, assets gained it. Low financing costs altered how ownership interacted with time. Once appreciation outpaced participation, position became decisive. Being connected mattered more than being active. This dynamic didn't require foresight or intelligence. It rewarded exposure. These forces reinforced one another. As asset values accelerated, entry became harder. As wages lagged, catching up required more than consistency. Effort still mattered. It just stopped determining direction. What made this period psychologically difficult was the absence of a clear explanation. People adjusted in the only ways that made sense. They worked harder. They waited longer. They optimized behavior that had once worked. The failure of those adjustments felt personal. What they were reacting to, without knowing it, was a break in a feedback loop they relied on. Signals that once confirmed progress weakened. Responsibility remained intact. Over time, this produced a sense of being late to something that had never been clearly announced. A pressure to catch up without knowing what had changed or when. Narratives lagged behind incentives. Advice persisted because it had once been true. Institutions repeated it because systems don't revise their stories in real time. The gap between lived experience and available explanations widened. Once effort stopped being the primary organizing force, outcomes became harder to interpret. Progress felt detached from behavior. Stagnation felt undeserved. Neither fit the moral framework people were used to applying to success and failure. This does not mean effort lost value. It lost exclusivity. Timing gained influence. Access gained weight. Position began shaping trajectories more than persistence. That reordering defines the period more accurately than any single event. Not a housing cycle, not a market rally, not a labor shift, but a broader decoupling between action and outcome. Seen through that lens, the confusion of the decade becomes legible. The strain came from misalignment rather than laziness, from uncertainty rather than incompetence. People were responding rationally to incentives that had changed without explanation. The error wasn't effort itself. The error was assuming the old relationship between effort and direction still governed outcomes. It did, until it didn't, and that quiet transition remains unresolved.